3 babies. Same age, same room, same milk bottles placed within reach. At first glance, you see something simple, something sweet. 3 children in a moment of discovery. But watch closely, because what unfolds in the next few seconds is not random. It is not coincidence. It is divergence. Same conditions, same resources, same timing, completely different responses. And in that divergence, if you look carefully enough, lies something profound about human nature, about character, and about the quiet emergence of leadership itself. The first child moves quickly, not frantically, not desperately, but with clarity. He reaches for a bottle, selects it, settles into position, and drinks. There is no hesitation, no second guessing, no looking around to see what the others are doing. The defining trait here is not speed, it is composure, a certainty of desire, and satisfaction once that desire is met. This is the child who knows what he wants and moves toward it without noise, without drama, without needing anyone's permission. In later life, this disposition often mirrors something we recognize in high performers: the ability to recognize opportunity early, act decisively, and require very little external validation. These are the people who don't wait for the room to decide. They decide, and then they move. Not because they are louder, but because they are clearer. The second child pauses. He watches, not just the bottles, but the others. His engagement is different. It is less about possession and more about interaction. He reaches, he offers, he reclaims, he recalibrates. There is an awareness of the shared space, an instinct to navigate it, to read the room before committing. This reflects something deeper, an emerging relational intelligence, the ability to read systems, to adjust behavior, to optimize outcomes not through force, but through understanding context. These are the people who become connectors, negotiators, bridge builders. They thrive not on immediacy, but on comprehension. They don't just see the bottle, they see the dynamics, the relationships, the possibilities for collaboration. In organizations, these are often the people who become indispensable, not because they are the loudest voice in the room, but because they understand how the room works. And then there is the third child, the one who reacts to constraints. Perhaps he moves last, perhaps he struggles, perhaps he reaches and finds the bottle just out of grasp, or perhaps he watches the others succeed and processes something different entirely: frustration, patience, or adaptation. I'll leave you to be the judge of what you see in that third child. Because here's the truth. Early behavior is not a life sentence. It is a signal. Some children who struggle early become the most resilient adults. Some who move last become the most strategic thinkers. Some who watch longest become the most innovative leaders. The third child's response matters, not because it defines him, but because it reveals something about how he processes challenge. And that revelation, when noticed and nurtured, can become his greatest strength. So here's the question this clip quietly raises. Are these behavioral, shaped by environment, conditioning, and chance? Or are they character-based, rooted in something deeper, something intrinsic, something that announces itself this early? The answer, of course, is both. Temperament and environment are not enemies. They are partners. What we see in these babies is not destiny. It is inclination. And inclination, when met with the right environment, becomes direction. When met with the wrong environment, it becomes friction. What this clip reminds us, what it should challenge us to remember, is this: equality of opportunity does not produce uniform outcomes. The same environment does not generate the same choices. The same resources do not yield identical paths. And that is not a flaw in the system. That is the system. Difference is not dysfunction. It is diversity unfolding. This truth applies to parenting, to leadership, to education, to society. The most effective families are not those that produce identical children. The most effective organizations are not those that clone their leaders. The most effective societies are not those that enforce sameness. They are the ones that create space. Space for different dispositions to grow, to contribute, to lead in their own distinct way. Here is what stands out to me most. how early difference announces itself. Quietly, without instruction, without reward. Before language, before conditioning, before anyone told them who to be. We already see inclination. Not superiority, not deficiency. Inclination. And here is the thing about inclination. Early behavior is not destiny, but ignoring early signals is a missed opportunity. When strengths are misunderstood or suppressed, they do not disappear. They reemerge as frustration, as resistance, as conflict. But when they are recognized, when they are shaped with intention, with wisdom, with care, they mature into purpose. The child who moves first becomes the leader who acts decisively in crisis. The child who watches becomes the strategist who sees what others miss. The child who struggles becomes the innovator who refuses to accept limitations. None of these outcomes is automatic, but all of them are possible. If we pay attention, if we nurture wisely, if we lead with understanding rather than uniformity. So let me bring this home. Life does not distribute outcomes evenly. Not because life is unfair, but because humans do not engage life evenly. And that is not a flaw. That is the design. We bring different gifts, different speeds, different ways of seeing. And the most powerful systems, the most transformative families, organizations, and societies are not those that force everyone into the same mold. They are the ones that ask a better question. Not, how do we make everyone the same? But, how do we help each person become their best? The enduring lesson here is about leadership and legacy. Not about control, not about conformity, but about cultivation. Creating the conditions where difference is not just tolerated, but celebrated. Where early signals are not ignored, but explored. Where inclination is given room to grow into contribution. 3 babies. 1 scene. Same bottles. Different choices. And in those choices, a mirror. A reminder that leadership begins not when we learn to manage people, but when we learn to see them. To notice the signals, to honor the differences, to create the space. Because the child who moves first, the child who watches, and the child who struggles are not competing for the same path. They are walking different paths, and the world needs all 3. So the question is not which child will succeed. The question is, will we be wise enough to help each of them find their way? Thank you.
Good job.